Turkey is suddenly paying very close attention to a tiny island in the Mediterranean, Cyprus. It is one of the European Union member states. It sits at the crossroads of Europe, Asia and Africa. And right now, it wants to buy one of the most feared missiles in the world, India's BrahMos. The President of Cyprus met PM Modi on May 22nd to turn bilateral relation into strategic partnership with 5-year defense roadmap. At the heart of this new partnership is a shopping list that includes the BrahMos kamikaze drones like Nagastra 1 and Sky Striker. The reason? To counter Turkish threat in its backyard. Once a formal deal is linked, this will pave way for India's strategic footprint in one of the world's most sensitive geopolitical theatres. In Eastern Mediterranean, a region already crowded with military rivalries. Turkey versus Greece, Turkey versus Cyprus, NATO tensions, energy wars, maritime disputes and now potentially India's BrahMos missile sitting inside this volatile theatre. And the message to Turkey could not be louder. One cannot talk about Cyprus without talking about Turkey. The wound has been opened since 1974. Turkey has occupied northern Cyprus since 1974 and maintains ongoing disputes with Nicosia over maritime boundaries and energy resources. Ankara does not just ignore Cyprus, it actively challenges it. Turkish warships have repeatedly intruded into Cyprus's exclusive economic zone. Turkish aircraft routinely violate Cypriot airspace. Erdogan has used the Cyprus issue as leverage for decades. Cyprus feels exposed, more so now after the Saudi-Pakistan defense deal, also called the Islamic NATO. Turkey is the central pillar of this axis, and in India, Cyprus has found a natural ally against this axis to safeguard its interests. Cyprus no longer wants just defensive symbolism. It wants credible deterrence, and BrahMos delivers exactly that. May 2025 Operation Sindoor. When India struck Pakistan's terror bases, Turkey was busy helping Islamabad with its drones and munitions. China was helping Pakistan with jets, missiles and key intel. But then came the night of May 10th when India's BrahMos decisively turned the fate of the conflict. Multiple air bases inside Pakistan hit. Its Air Force fleet grounded. Even the hill that reportedly hides Pakistan's nuclear weapon also struck. This was the first time the world witnessed the operational capability of BrahMos. Cyprus too was watching carefully and found the weapon it had been looking for. A supersonic missile flying at nearly Mach 3 speed and hitting targets as far as 300 kilometers with 3-ton warhead is not just deadly. In active conflict, that is a decider. And India is not just selling missiles, it is aiming something bigger through BrahMos, in which Cyprus could act as Delhi's gateway to Europe. If the BrahMos deal closes, it would mark the first deployment of Indian-made weapons systems in the Eastern Mediterranean, expanding India's defense export footprint into Europe. That has never happened before. For India though, the queue of countries trying to buy the BrahMos keeps getting longer. The Philippines already signed, Vietnam, Indonesia, Egypt and the UAE are in negotiations, and now Cyprus joined the queue. A weaker neighbor armed with such a deadly weapon is always a threat. Turkey realizes the significance of BrahMos overlooking the East Mediterranean region. It is a massive deterrence, but there is something else that also bothers Erdogan: Greece. A Turkish strategic analyst has reportedly called for stronger measures to prevent Greece from potentially acquiring Indian-made missiles via Cyprus. The fear in Ankara is specific and grounded. If Cyprus gets BrahMos, Greece, which coordinates closely with Cyprus on defense and maritime security, could effectively access the same capabilities through the back door. That fear is not entirely unfounded. There have been reports of Greece potentially acquiring BrahMos missiles following PM Modi's 2023 visit to Athens, where defense cooperation was a key focus. Reports of Greece using a BrahMos missile against a Turkish warship in a simulated exercise further underscored the missile's perceived threat to Turkish naval forces. Turkish media frames this as India bringing cruise missiles to the Aegean just to counter Turkey. There is a bigger picture here, and India is drawing it deliberately. India's defense exports recently surpassed a record $4.1 billion mark by increasing its defense exports and forging stronger military ties with Cyprus, Greece, and Armenia. India is engaging in strategic balancing, supplying arms to countries that share friction with Turkey, subtly applying pressure not only on Islamic NATO but also the Turkey-Pakistan-Azerbaijan nexus. This dovetails with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's hexagon of alliances vision, which involves a flexible network between India, Greece, Cyprus, select Arab and African nations, and other Asian partners. A framework that coordinates security, intelligence, defense, and economic cooperation against both radical Shia and Sunni axis. For years, Turkey assumed it could openly support Pakistan against India without strategic costs. Today, India possesses one of the world's fastest growing missile export programs, and countries uncomfortable with Turkish assertiveness and paying attention. If BrahMos eventually reaches Cyprus, India's strategic reach would effectively cover the entire Turkish neighborhood. That would be a major symbolic breakthrough for Indian defense diplomacy. And for Turkey, it would represent something deeply uncomfortable. The arrival of Indian military influence, the same Turkey that backed Pakistan near India's borders, may now have to watch India strengthen deterrence near Turkey's shores.
If they had a nuclear weapon,
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
no tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy and power seen through India's eyes, from Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India, how one move by China can affect India's security, what turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability, how Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood, why oil choke points can hit your wallet, how wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling, daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations, because news is everywhere. But perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly, to understand the world through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.